If you run an online store, you know the pain of inventory management. Stock runs out, you lose sales, stock piles up, and your capital is tied up in unsold products. Manually checking stock levels across your catalog just doesn't scale, and this problem only gets worse as you add more products and sales channels. This project solves that with full automation. We connect to an e-commerce store's API, pull product and order data on a schedule, calculate metrics like days of inventory remaining and reorder signals, and push alerts through email, Slack, and WhatsApp when stock needs attention. Whether you're managing a single storefront or looking for how to build a real ETL pipeline with n8n, this project gives you a production-ready pattern that you can plug into any e-commerce platform. Hello and welcome to Business Automation Library. My name is Masan, and today we're building an automated e-commerce inventory and order management pipeline using n8n Postgres in Python, all self-hosted on a hosting or VPS. If you sell products online, whether that's through WooCommerce, Shopify, BigCommerce, or any platform with a REST API, the pattern we're building here applies to you. Core logic is platform agnostic. We'll extract product and order data, calculate inventory health metrics, store everything in a Postgres star schema, send real-time alerts when stock gets low, and deliver weekly summary reports, all without manual intervention. We use WooCommerce as our data store in this walkthrough. The database schema, Python transformation scripts, the alert pipeline, and the Streamlit Dashboard all work the same regardless of where your orders come from. You'll need to swap out the API connector in n8n, and then you're running against a different store. We'll walk through the architecture, break down each of the three n8n workflows and the logic behind them, cover the database design, and see the complete system running with a live Streamlit dashboard. All of the files are shared in GitHub. Links are included in the description. Chapters are also linked, so feel free to skip ahead to the section that you want. All right, now we're going to hop into the high-level architecture of this project. So we start with our data source. We're using WooCommerce WordPress store. Of course, this could be replaced with any store that you have, Shopify, BigCommerce, um, as long as you can connect to it using REST API. And the next layer is our orchestration layer. We're hosting this on a hosting or VPS. We're using n8n in a Docker container that has three workflows. The first workflow is our daily ETL. This runs every day at 6 a.m. It looks at the products and orders. It calculates inventory metrics. And then depending on those metric health levels, we'll get certain alerts telling us what orders that we or products we need to reorder. Second one is more of a real-time alert. So let's say something is getting ordered and it dips below a reorder threshold. This alert will actually make sure that each product being ordered doesn't dip below that. If it does, then it'll send us an alert so we can actually place the order. The third workflow is a weekly report. This is just a health of the business report sent in stylized HTML every Monday morning. So it's just a nice looking report. Tells us how our business did over the past week, if we need anything to reorder. All of these write to a PostgreSQL database, which is set up like a star schema. So we have a centralized fact tables surrounded by dimension tables. This is just good for business analytic queries. Lastly, we have our Streamlit dashboard. So this is just an in-depth dashboard, uh, basically where we're able to query our database and then get a bunch of metrics on our store and basically track how it's doing. So that covers the high level architecture. And now we'll talk about what you need to get started. All right, so before we dive into like the nuts and bolts of this, let's actually just talk about how I have this running. So I'm using a WooCommerce store. It's not a real store. I'm just using local by Flywheel. This is like a free tool that you can use to run WordPress locally on my machine. So I'll show you what that interface looks like. Um, Basically, I have this test site set up and I'm able to like start and stop it at any time. I also have a live link that I can use to connect via API. So this is something that you can actually follow through the guide. You can exactly kind of see how to set this up using the exact setup I had. Of course, if you have your own online store, that would just be better. You connect to that and you can start running tests on that. This, because I don't have an online store, this is just what I set up to build this. Um, so let's say you are building this the same way. You can go into WordPress admin and you can actually download the WooCommerce plugin. So I think you go to plugins and then you search for WooCommerce. Um, so let's see, add plugin at the top left, and you just search for, WooCommerce. I already have this, so um, obviously you would install this. So after you get WooCommerce plugin installed, um, of course, then you can actually go to WooCommerce and look at, uh, you know, your mock store. In the GitHub, I have a script that you can run to actually upload mock data into WooCommerce. That way you actually have something to work with. Um, but this is essentially what you'll need to do to set up this kind of like uh, store solution. So the thing you want to do after you install WooCommerce on that local by Flywheel, you want to generate API keys. You want to make sure that these keys are read-write permissions. Actually, I would say, building all these n8n automations, the biggest thing you'll run into is actually just setting up all the credentials. The actual logic side of it is probably more straightforward to figure out. Um, but I'll actually go through how to get an API key. So bear with me as this is a little slow. But you want to go to settings and then you want to go to advanced. Next, you want to go to REST API. Once you get here, you see I already have some keys set up, but you can just add a key. Again, make sure this is read write permissions. This is crucial. It's the permission level that is attached to this key. And then just put a description, like I just n8n uh, test key or something like that. I would always test before you launch into production. But yeah, so just create your key and then that'll be the first step. Um, After we get our key, then we can actually get some test data. So again, if you have your own store, you don't need to do any of this. This is just for if you want to test out this solution yourself using some mock data. So there's a requirements.txt that you can install, and then you want to go to the scripts and generate test data. So this script will basically just insert a bunch of test data into your WooCommerce store. That way, when you actually test out all the pipelines, you can just make sure, it works and it's using, test data. So that will help you to get started. Um, Next, you'll need a VPS. So I'm using Hostinger, which costs you probably around $6 to $10 a month. Um, so let me actually log on. Okay, so here I am on Hostinger, and this is what I have set up to host this solution. So both my n8n and Postgres are hosted on this single server. And we'll need to actually SSH into our VPS to get Docker installed and get that set up. So once you actually get your Hostinger set up, you can install n8n on that. So you can SSH into your Hostinger and basically run these commands. I've tested all of this myself, which is why I'm releasing this guide. This is, February 2026. So as of right now, it works. So yeah, you want to go into your hosting or VPS, SSH in, and then run all these commands to get everything set up in the way that I do. This is basically setting up your environment. You want to do the same thing with Postgres, SSH into your VPS, run these commands. I've just tested them, so they work. And set up your database, set up your password, etc. And then you want to run your SQL to set up your schema. So I actually have this SQL query here. This will just basically set up the default schema I have for this project. Now, again, I need to mention here, if you have your own store already, you obviously will need to adjust all of this for those values. So again, this is all set up for this specific project, but you can change it to your specific setup. The next thing you'll need is Python locally to run the Streamlit Dashboard. So make sure you have the latest version of Python installed. Um, and we're using CycleBG, uh, Streamlit, Plotly, all for the dashboard. So you can see this all in the requirements.txt and install that yourself. And this is just a good time for me to mention overall this technical guide. So this is just something I set up both for myself to run this project and for anyone that wants to do something similar. This is just an executive summary, telling you exactly what this project does. So you can follow all the exact steps in here to build this same exact thing. Um, So the guide mirrors this video. So first it goes through the overview, architecture, step-by-step implementation. Um, it even includes all this troubleshooting that I had to go through. So, I ran into a lot of problems, especially when I was in n8n trying to connect nodes. So, if you run into any issues, you can actually search through this technical guide to help you get through it. So how do you follow along? Because if I was to build this project while trying to record this video, it would take a long time. Probably took me around like 4 to 6 hours to build all of it. Again, a lot of that stuff is just troubleshooting, working through weird issues, a lot of credentials with n8n, but it's just good to mention that you can use this technical guide. Um, and I'd highly recommend get something like a Claude Code um, in VS Code setup. Give it this guide once you clone this GitHub repository and just have it help you to, work through all of these issues. It'll do a great job in adapting, especially if you have your own online store. You basically tell it to go and read what's in your online store, all the specific field names. You get it to map over to this kind of architecture and get your own thing set up fairly quickly. Okay, so that covers all of, what you need to do to get set up. There is quite a bit to kind of, you have to set up the skeleton, all of the base data first, and then we can actually go into building the solution. So that kind of covers our requirements. All right, so now went through how to set up everything, get your mock data in WooCommerce, get your database set up. Now we're actually looking at kind of what the database looks like. So at a high level, we're using a star schema design, which basically means we have fact tables, and then those are surrounded by dimension tables. So this is like a high level, how it looks like, how they connect to each other. But I'll actually just zoom in a little bit. You can see at the bottom here, we have fact order items, fact inventory snapshots, fact orders, inventory movements. Then we have our dimensions, so our customers, dates, products, suppliers. So you can see how this all connects. Yeah, not really necessary to deep dive, but just something to mention. This is how we have our database set up. This is also a good time to go over the script reference. So here's all of the different scripts that are built in n8n. So these will actually be in the nodes that we use to send alerts, to do data transformation. So you can see which ones they apply to. So this is workflow one that has transform products, transform orders, etc. So I'll actually show you what that looks like inside n8n next. But basically, this is just a nice reference for you if you want to, go and install the same scripts in those nodes in your own project. Okay, so we made it to n8n now. We can actually go through how all of this looks. So this is our workflow one. Again, this is the workflow that gets run every day at 6 a.m. Um, it gets products and orders and inserts them into our database. Then it also calculates inventory metrics, inserts an inventory snapshot, determines if they need reordering, and if it does, it'll actually alert us. We build the alert message using some Python, and then we actually have a Slack channel that it'll send messages to. It'll send message over email. And lastly, I have a WhatsApp alert also set up. So basically, whichever way you want to be alerted, it can do that. Um, okay, so let's actually uncover each of these nodes and kind of walk through exactly what's going on here. Again, once again, I'm mentioning that the guide GitHub repository has all of this detail in depth. Well, let's just start from scratch. So, we have the 6 a.m. daily trigger. So, this is just a um, trigger node, and we can set it to run every day at 6 a.m. So you can see all those rules here on the left. Next, we'll actually follow the orders path first. So, and I'll actually run all of this live. That way you can see that it actually works. So, I'll execute each node one by one after trying it, and hopefully it all works. So, uh, this is the HTTP request that we send to WooCommerce to actually get our orders. So you see here, I've actually um, given an exact HTML or sorry URL to get all of the orders. So if I take this URL and actually paste it in, a browser, it should return a bunch of data. So that's what it does. This basically means like my store is up and running and I'm able to connect via REST API. Why did I do this? Because I was running into a lot of issues with the WooCommerce node for get many orders. So I just basically went with a direct HTTP request instead. Again, this is only able to run when my store is live. So, through my local word flywheel thing. So I'm not really worried about sharing that URL. It's just something to show you that it works. Okay, so we run the HTTP request and that returns our orders. Then we actually have our transform orders. This is just a Python script that runs and it basically, transforms all of the orders so that we can upsert them into the database. So this takes those orders and puts them in the database. Upsert means it will update or insert. So, if it's already there, it won't insert it twice, basically. So I'll run that. Okay, now we've kind of covered the inserting into the database nodes. So next we'll do get many products. So again, this is very similar to this get orders request down here, but instead we're actually using the WooCommerce node that they set up. And I connected with my API key that I kind of showed you earlier. how to set up. So basically, after we get our credential set up, we set the get many products node with this configuration. And very similar to this down here, it will get our products. Um, and then we run a very similar like transformation script with Python to transform the products. We can then insert that into our database. Next, we can actually calculate inventory metrics. So we'll open this up. This is a little bit more in depth, and you can see I can set my reorder points, safety stock, look back days. Like these are all parameters that you can adjust yourself depending on how you want to manage your business. Um, but basically, this helps me to calculate my inventory metrics, and I'll calculate that. So this creates an inventory snapshot, which I can then insert into my database again, query later. Now I set up a conditional logic. So if my reorder is needed, based off of the flag that was calculated in here. So where is my reorder needed? Yeah, okay. So reorder point, that's something that is set, I think, in the actual um, database. So I think it's, yeah, default to 10. So again, if it sees it dip below 10, it will then trigger that. So I'll run that. And then I have my alert message. So this will, oh wait, okay. So now I have my alert message, and this will, then I have my alert message, and because my phone number is in here, I'm not going to open this exact node, but I will go to build alert message.py. Um, so you can see in this script how it actually, you know, creates the alert message and basically creates different payloads for Slack or WhatsApp, etc. So I'll execute that. All right. So now we'll actually show you the notifications. So I have my Slack channel set up here, inventory alerts. I also just have my email here. Um, and we'll go through each of these notifications. That way you can see how they show up. So after I've done everything in this, I'll open up my Slack notification, and based off of the uh, build alert message node, we have different parameters we can pull into this. So there's a Slack payload that was created. I then put this in this node, and again, I'm using in direct HTTP request because again, it just didn't seem to work when I was using the Slack node. So that's why I have the direct HTTP request. So once I execute this, let me actually show you this side by side. So I have my uh, inventory alert channel, and then I have, yeah, this on the side. So I'll I'll run this, and it just sent a message. Um, so here's the products that need to be reordered that just came through. Next, let's look at the email. Um, so here, let me send this email. Oh wait, actually need to just make sure this works. It's always the nodes, the connection nodes that, okay, so I just need to re-sign in. Okay, connection successful. All right, so let me go back to this view. I run this, the node executes successfully. I'll refresh my email, and now I get the same kind of like alert so I can see, all of these products that need to be reordered. So that's it. That covers the first workflow. Now let's move on to the second. Now we're in workflow two, where we're looking at a real-time inventory alert. So this is where a webhook is listening um, for any order that's placed. And I'll run this all live again just so that you can see it works as of right now. So let me open up this webhook created node. Um, and let's just start by listening for a test event. And what it's basically, I just need to make a post request to this URL. So I actually have my VPS open, and I will, you know, post a request to this. So I'm uh, putting in for an aluminum laptop stand, which is product ID 17. So I'll enter that, and then it was, successfully logged. Next, I'll actually process that webhook order. So again, Python to get the webhook data and then list out what was ordered. So let's open that back up now. And we see that product 17 was ordered. Next, we check our inventory. So we run a SQL query to check um, how many of laptop stand aluminum is on hand. So it says 7 is on hand. Uh, okay, that's good. We have the product. Now I'll actually um, get our stock alert. So this is like the exact message that will be sent if this is low stock after the order is placed. Next, we have our alert gate. So this is our conditional logic. If our alert count, which is calculated in that previous node, is greater than 0, so one or more alerts, then it is true, and we'll insert that into our database. And then we'll also build our alert message very similar to how we built it in workflow one. And then we can send another message. I'm not going to run all three this time. I'm just going to run maybe the email message. So let me open up my email. That way you can see this run live. So I will run that, and then a new email should be coming in. Refresh. Okay. We can see that this laptop stand is a low point and it was just ordered. So maybe I should go ahead and place that order. So that's it. That's workflow two. Pretty straightforward. Okay, now we're at workflow three. So another more simple workflow where we have a trigger set for every Monday at 8 a.m. So let's go ahead and trigger that. Then we have three queries that we need to run. So, look at our orders from the past week. We want to look at our current inventory, like how many are in critical, low, healthy. And we want to look at the top products that were ordered last week. So these are all just SQL queries to run. So I'll run all of those. And then there's a merge step. So this is just a node that like gets all of the data together. Then I actually build a weekly report again through Python. So this actually like creates all of the data to structure the email notification. Then I'll actually just log the ETL run. All right, so now I'll actually test sending the email report, and we run this. I will. This is actually run for the past 31 days. So I know it's set to weekly. but that's just when I put in my test data. So here, I can see what's happened over that time period. 256 orders, 108 grand in revenue. Um, and then I can see my inventory health, products needing to reorder. So again, this is just like a stylized email report, which of course you could replace with any metrics that important to your business. It's just important to know that you can basically orchestrate this all through n8n. Okay, now we'd like a visual layer on top of the data. So I am in my code repository. I will actually run the Streamlit script from here. It's going to open up a dashboard for me and actually run the queries live so I get the latest data. This is just a conceptual dashboard, so anything I would be releasing internally to my you know business, I would probably have set up on Tableau, Power BI, something that's set up so you can securely access data. But this is just showing you how it could look in a simple Streamlit dashboard. So it's showing you inventory snapshot data actually that we just inserted today, and when I was showing you that those earlier workflows. So we can see, inventory value, units in stock, how many orders are pending, how many are at risk of being out of stock, orders over the past 14 days, what's healthy, critical, or low. And just like going deep into products by revenue, recent alerts. Of course, I mean, you can replace this with whatever you think is relevant. Yeah, just a concept of what this could look like on top of your business. So just a way for you to manage, keep everyone up to date on what's going on. What are the performing products? Maybe want to phase out some of these products that aren't really doing much for us. Um, you know, Profitability, and yeah, just general information on our online store. So of course, again, think about what kind of metrics you think are important for your business, and you can use similar method just to conceive it out. And then I would recommend moving, depending on like how large your business is, moving maybe to a Tableau or um, Power BI, something where you have a dashboard that is set up, connected to your database. Um, Amazon QuickSite, something that can basically support users securely accessing and only seeing what they need to see. Okay, so this brings us to our cost, time, and skill section. Um, so in terms of cost, it's actually not really bad for this project. We just have our VPS that we're paying for, and we could use the VPS for other things other than n8n and Postgres as well. So that might just be something you want to invest into. Um, just a helpful tool. And in terms of time and skill, with this guide, you probably won't spend much time setting this up. Maybe with your specific online business, you might need to spend a lot of time connecting all the credentials and nodes and stuff like that. But typically with this project, um, you know, just making sure all the fields align, that will take you the most time. Setting up the credentials, API keys, all that, stuff where you want to be kind of careful and make sure you know exactly what you're doing, get all the values exactly right. That will take the most time. The actual building of the project is probably done within 2 to 3 hours once you have everything set up, right? So, actual work isn't that much, but the setting up of all the environments and things like that, that's going to take you the most amount of time. In terms of skill level, again, I don't think this is a high barrier to entry for anyone to set up on their own. I use Claude Code extensively here to just helped me, troubleshoot. So I kind of conceived this out. It helped me to build the diagrams. So yeah, I mean, you have all the tools available for you to build this for your own business. But yeah, I think that this is an achievable project for almost anyone. Um, if the VPS makes you uncomfortable, like running all those commands, again, I just spend some time like talking through each of the commands, what exactly they do with Claude Code, and they'll tell you kind of like risk levels. This is a low risk project. Um, just note that if you do this with your own online store, figure out a way to do it in a test environment first. Of course, you don't want to mess up your actual business. All right, so that wraps up our e-commerce inventory automation system. We covered some key patterns like star schema design for analytics, parallel ETL branches in n8n, setting up a webhook for real-time alerts, um, reusable Python scripts across workflows. Those are basically our alert messages, multi-page dashboard. Let's see. Self-hosting, all of this on our own VPS. All of these are patterns that you can adapt for your own online store or other automation projects. So I hope you found this useful, and all of the code scripts and technical guide are available in the GitHub repository, which is in the description of this video. So thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to build your arsenal of business automations to help streamline your work so you can focus on the important things like growing your business or exploring opportunities. Um, for me, I like to spend time with family and friends. So thanks so much for watching.